What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Scroll Cup, which is one of the newer limited metas that we've seen added to the game, but like a lot of them, features just 3 typings, is very condensed, and I'm sure you're probably already bored of it. But in this video we'll be taking a look at some hidden tech for the meta with Shadow Mightyena on Thunderfang. Now you might have noticed a lot of the top meta Pokemon are weak to electric, which is why Morpeko is so strong, but none of the electric types in this meta have any real fast move pressure. Sure, they can get to those nukes of Aura Wheel or Wild Charge in just 10 turns, but they can't really farm stuff down, which is where Shadow Mightyena comes in. Not only can it apply a lot of fast move pressure, it can also debuff with Poison Fang, and probably more importantly, people just aren't expecting Mightyena to have Thunderfang, so it catches a lot of people off guard. Now, initially I'm running Crocodile in the lead as a hard answer to Morpeko and other opposing electric types, but I swear this Pokemon is allergic to winning leads. I did 2 sets with it and lost every single lead, so eventually I swapped it out for Chestnut. A bit more boring, but it could at least beat a lot of the water types that I was seeing. Now, as the final Pokemon, I'm running Pawmot with Brick Break. It's a community day move that was buffed this season, and of course, it was available again just recently with the December community day, so I thought I'd give it a try. Anyways, with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What is the one Pokemon you hate facing in the Scroll Cup? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Crocodile into Mandibuzz. Of course, not a great matchup for me. Going to be safe swapping into Pawmot, and the opponent is going to stay in initially before eventually swapping into Hakamoa. I'm going straight for Brick Break here. Brick Break is going to drop the defense, and honestly, it does respectable damage now. Pawmot is a very glassy Pokemon, and the second Brick Break already grabbing a shield advantage, but Pawmot is not done just yet. The opponent going to fire off their own Brick Break, but that's fine. We can still reach another Brick Break before they fully farm me down. Brick Break gonna grab the final shield, and now I'm actually gonna swap back into Crocodile. I don't really mind if they debuff me here. The opponent actually gonna go for a Rock Tomb, which doesn't really make an awful lot of sense. They debuff my attack stat, but it doesn't really matter because they come in with Azumarill. My charge moves are completely walled here, but I don't really care. The opponent is going to, of course, go for a full bubble farm down, but we can reach another Brick Break just before they get there. So Brick Break is gonna connect. We've already got them nearly into the yellow health range. Of course, Mightyena is going to hit very hard with these Thunderfangs. So we come in, just one Thunderfang, dealing decent damage there. The opponent fires off an Ice Beam bait, which is unfortunate, but they're not going to reach another charge move, and so they swap back into Mandibuzz. But Mightyena, absolutely fine in this matchup. We can go for a Poison Fang. Poison Fang isn't really going to deal that much damage. It is non-stab. Likewise, Thunderfangs are non-stab, so they are tanking these, but we can swap out. We can make the catch there as the opponent is going to throw straight away. They go for a Foul Play bait there. Doesn't really make a difference. We get the Thunderfang farm down. We go for one more Thunderfang just to make sure a Poison Fang KOs. And of course, non-stab, it doesn't really matter. It's super effective up against the Azumarill, and so I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We see Galarian Zapdos in the lead. Not great for me. Going to be safe swapping into my Pawmot, and here I am going to bait with a Brick Break. Now, Brick Break is a bit of a weird charge move in that a lot of the times, it doesn't really do that much damage, and a lot of the times when I threw it, people actually didn't shield, so that was quite frustrating. But here, we full sent the Wild Charge. We also get the full farm down, and I come out with another Wild Charge loaded, so I'm just full sending it. The opponent is going to shield there. Of course, if I went for Brick Break, that would have been quite nice for me, but either way, we can come in with the Mightyena. I am taking super effective damage from the counters, but they full sent a close combat before swapping into a Quagsire. Now, unfortunately, Quagsire is going to core break the remainder of my team here. However, we can go for a Brick Break. I believe they would have outpaced me just barely to the Aquatail. So we go for Brick Break. If I went for Crunch there. So we go for Brick Break. It doesn't really deal that much damage. They fire off the Aquatail, but we now put them into range where they're not going to get to a Stone Edge. They have to go for an Aquatail. We can go for a full farm down, and we just barely get the farm down there. We come out with a Poison Fang loaded. Poison Fang takes out the Galarian Zapdos, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You see Araquanid in the lead. An awful matchup for me. Gonna be safe swapping into my only real answer. I probably should be safe swapping into Mightyena in that matchup just because we are going to deal super effective damage with the fast moves, but also Pawmot is going to resist the Bug Bite damage, so it is a better response. But here we full send the Wild Charge. Surely we grab a shield here, but no, the opponent actually no shields. I can't believe that. I don't even understand. Surely they'd want switch advantage there. But either way, we are not in a great position. I couldn't afford to shield that because Araquanid is already really difficult for me to deal with. So we come in with the Crocodile, they go for a Bubble Beam, and now I swap into my Tiana, but they come in with a Charmbrion. And yeah, honestly, if we flip Switch Advantage, still would have been very tricky for me because Crocodile is going to struggle in this matchup, and my Tiana, with of course taking super effective damage from those bug bites, would also struggle. But either way, Arc Jet gets the KO. We come in, we get the Mud Slap farm down. We still have 2 shields, but we don't really have the opportunity to use them. I'm going to go for a Brick Break bait here. Of course, debuff from their defense, but they can fully bug bite farm me down. They do fire a Charge Reef just to play it safe here. Bubble Beam gets the KO, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG top on there, into the next battle, we see a Shadow Kingdra in the lead. So honestly, not that bad of a matchup, but it is still one that we lose in the 1 shield scenario. So actually, just going to play out the 0 shield scenario here, go straight for a Brick Break and look to grab a shield advantage. Brick Break is, of course, going to debuff their defense there. The opponent can go for the full Dragon Red farm down, but with that debuff, we can come in with the Pawmot, and they're not going to reach back-to-back Swifts. So the opponent is actually going to full send the Outrage there, which we do correctly shield, but now they come in with a Gastrodon. So, of course, not ideal for me, but we go for a Brick Break. Brick Break gonna drop the defense, and now I'm actually gonna commit to a full send of the Wild Charge, and Wild Charge does big damage, and we can actually snipe with the Mightyena before they have time to react. And their final Pokemon is Empoleon. With any other electric type Pokemon, of course, whilst we might be able to outpace them, we would not be able to just go for a 1 shield and full farm down. So we go for the farm down, we get the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there, into the next battle, you see a Primeape in the lead. So, of course, not ideal for me. Once again, Crocodile just cannot catch a break right now. They go straight for Rage Fist, so I'm going to no-shield. But nope, they're actually on Legacy Cross Chop, so fair play. Was not expecting that. We come in with the Pawmot here, and the opponent hasn't boosted up their attack stat just yet, but I assume they probably will do now with the Rage Fist. Not ideal for me, but Pawmot actually wins CMP in this matchup. So, I farm up to back-to-back Brick Breaks. We fire off the Brick Break, and they're actually going to use a shield here. So at this point, I'm also going to shield this. I'm then going to swap eventually into my Mightyena and go for the snipe with those Thunder Fangs. And we do get that snipe there. But let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent is going to come in with an Umbreon. So honestly, not that bad for me, especially since they go straight for Foul Play. Potentially, they have Foul Play and Psychic. So going for Foul Play because Psychic is non-stab and it would be double resisted. But either way, we go for Poison Fang. Poison Fang not really dealing that much damage here. But we are going to, of course, drop the defense. The opponent going to go for another Foul Play, which we're still able to tank fairly comfortably. They cannot commit to a full farm down. So at this point, we might as well just stay in here, force them to throw another Foul Play, and hope Pawmot can sweep in the end game. Now, I'm expecting maybe something weak to the electric typing in the back, and we do see it. It's going to be a Jellicent. So here, we farm up to 1 away from back-to-back Wild Charges. First one is going to grab the final shield. Wild Charge number 2 gets the KO there, but I am quad debuffed, and as a result, we get a simultaneous KO there, and unfortunately we do end up tying that game. But GG's top on there into the next battle, and another bad lead for the Crocodile. This time, Annihilape is probably the most awkward Pokemon for me to deal with, and definitely the Pokemon that I hated most facing in this meta, just because I didn't have any response to it at all. Of course, we just stay in there. I go for Brick Break Bait there. I could have gone for Crunch, and Crunch does have a chance to debuff them. However, I pretty much guaranteed a shield there. So now we come in, we tank the Rage Fist. Maybe should have stayed in and just got off one more Thunder Fang before they threw the next charge through, because now, unfortunately, you can see we just barely miss out on getting a full farm down, which means I'm forced to throw the Brick Break. Brick Break will get the KO here, but certainly not ideal. Now the opponent comes in with more Pekko, and I realize right now this is going to be a team that Yonka showcased on his channel with a Morpeko and a Pawmot of his own in the backline, and unfortunately there's not much Mightyena can do here. We can Thunder Fang farm them down, but the opponent's going to be wise. They're just going to swap out straight away there, not allow the full farm down, and as a result they can shield once. They will outpace the back-to-back charge moves whilst resisting the Thunder Fang damage. And I definitely don't need to shield here. They go for Wild Charge, taking out Mightyena, and unfortunately I do lose that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, and big surprise, Crocodile is going to be losing that lead matchup. They swap once again into Hakamoa. This time I throw on really poor timing. Honestly, I don't know what that's about, but either way, we go for Brick Break. They are going to fire for Charge Reef. I can live a Brick Break, but the opponent is actually on Dragon Claw, which has very much surprised me. But we're now going to come in with the Crocodile. The opponent now going to reach a Brick Break of their own. So, Dragon Claw and Brick Break not running Rock Tomb, which I think is definitely a big surprise. But either way, here. We barely hang on. We swap into Mightyena, and they come back in with the Mandibuzz. Now, I'm definitely going to shield this, as Aerial Ace, not the best move, but it is still going to deal decent damage. They come in with more Peko, and honestly, this isn't that bad, just because our Switch Clocks are misaligned, and they no-shield the first Poison Fang. Of course, Poison Fang is going to deal more damage each time we throw it. However, they go straight for a Psychic Fang's bait. I don't understand that play whatsoever. Now, I'm going to shield this. We have a Poison Fang locked and loaded, and I'm actually going to swap into my Crocodile. Of course, Crocodile can come in. We were very low, but we do, of course, live one Thunder Shock. We get off a Brick Break up against the Mandibuzz. The opponent is going to be shielding that up there, but we can now go for another Poison Fang, and Poison Fang is, of course, going to debuff their defense. They no-shield that one, realizing we're probably going to reach another one, but we actually wouldn't have got there, but we do end up getting the full farm down, and so I'm able to take that game. So, GG's opponent there into the next battle, and another bad lead matchup for me, leading into Galarian Farfetch. Now, this is not a flying type Pokemon, but they do have access to both Fury Cutter and Leaf Blade, which hit for super effective. So, we're going to play out the one shield scenario, I believe, go for a Brick Break there, and get them fairly low. Of course, we can't quite win this, but we have put them into range, where Mightyena can come in and Thunder Fang farm them down. We get the farm down just before they do reach a Charge Brief, and they're going to come in with a Barbaracle. So at this point, going to full send a Crunch. Crunch is going to be no-shielded. It drops their defense there, but unfortunately, they do reach a last-second cross shot. At this point, we come in with the Pawmot, and they're going to have a Shadow Celio now. They should not get a full Powder Snow in for free there, as they swapped out. We didn't swap out, so they should be one turn behind, which is why I went and full sent the Wild Charge there. But in hindsight, it still doesn't really matter, as we are double debuffed, but Fury Cutters are resisted, and we still get the farm down. But either way, that was a little bit awkward for me. But either way, into the next battle, and again, another Mandibuzz in the lead. We're going to be safe swapping into Pawmot, and this time met with a Gastrodon. Certainly not ideal for me, but we can fire off the Brick Break. Brick Break actually going to be shielded by the opponent. Now, Gastrodon can tank any one Charge Beef, even if I'm on close combat there, so definitely wouldn't recommend shielding the first Charge Beef on your Gastrodon. But either way, we do grab that shield advantage. We can now come back in with Crocodile, and they shouldn't be on Water Pulse for this meta. Earth Power is recommended, but I just don't trust that people are actually going to run what they should be running in this meta. A lot of people want to be trying to save TMs here, as, I mean, I'm personally in a bit of a awkward situation where I just never have any charge TMs, so either way, we are going to see the Mandibuzz coming back in here. They're going to bait out the Mightyena, so I'm actually just going to no-shield this. I'm hoping with the debuff, I've put them into Mud Slap farm down range. It's going to be so close, but Crocodile just barely not able to get that farm down. That is so painful. Of course, maybe I could have let the Aerial Ace go through there, but either way, I end up throwing the Charge Beef. I was hoping maybe they shield anyways, and they're at 1 HP, and get KO'd through the shield anyways, but now we are going to shield here. They must be weak to Crocodile in the back, but they are going to have a Toxapex, and whilst they are weak to the Mud Slap damage, I don't have Earthquake here, so I'm going to go for a Crunch. Crunch doesn't really deal that much damage. It does drop that defense there, but I needed a second Crunch to get the KO. We don't get there in time. Brine takes out the Crocodile, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up home there into the next battle, and we have now swapped out the Crocodile for the Chestnut, and straight away we are actually going to win a lead matchup. Not only that, they come in with a Dugong, which is still fine for the Chestnut, and actually my entire team is still pretty fine into the two Pokemon we've seen so far. I'm not sure if I will need a Grass type for maybe their third Pokemon, so maybe I should swap out of this matchup eventually, but we'll have to see if they want to double shield here. They don't. Frenzy Plant gets the KO, so I probably will swap out of this matchup now into my Mightyena, especially since they come in with a Murkrow. So of course we are dealing big damage with the Thunder Fangs. I'm going to shield here, as the opponent will have to swap back into Azumarill, and now I can go straight for a Poison Fang. Now Poison Fang on its own isn't really going to deal that much damage, but now these Thunder Fangs absolutely shredding through them, and that's put them into range where Pawmot can actually come in and fully farm them down. So I'm just waiting out my Switch Clock here, just in case the opponent can reach a last second Ice Beam, but no, they're not able to do so, and now because we've got an energy advantage, we can just go straight for back-to-back Brick Breaks. First one should be grabbing the final shield, and we will barely outpace Murkrow to the secondary charge move. Brick Break number 2 will be taking out the Murkrow, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You can see Chestnut into Empoleon. So, of course, this is a bit of an awkward matchup for me just because we're going to lose CMP in this matchup and a Drill Peck is double super effective. So, I'll swap into my Pawmot. I am going to be met with a Shadow Annihilate, which isn't ideal, but I can bait with a Brick Break, and what that will do is allow me to reach a Wild Charge. If I went for Wild Charge straight away, I probably don't reach the second one as I am going to debuff my defense stat as well. They do, of course, boost up their attack stat, but now we've got a shield advantage. I am going to have to shield my Chestnut when I come back in here, but we do still have some play. I guess actually I don't need to shield this as I can tank a Rage Fist and just barely reach a Frenzy Plant. So go for Frenzy Plant here, and then I will swap straight away into my Tiana, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come straight in with a Sableye. Now we do still have some play here, but these Thunder Fangs, they're not really dealing that much damage since they are non-stab and it's not super effective. They full send a Dazzling Gleam. I'm putting them into range where hopefully a Poison Fang will KO. It's going to be close, but it actually doesn't take them out there, and now they have the energy for a second Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam takes out my Tiana there. And unfortunately, I will be losing this game. If we went for one more Thunder Fang, maybe Poison Fang KOs from that range, and we still get to a crunch up against Empoleon. But potentially, maybe they could have actually reached a charge move there and lived the crunch and still won. But either way, GG to our trainer into the next battle. I'm going to see a Gastrodon in the lead. A great lead matchup for me. They say swap into Mana Buzz. I'm thinking they're probably trying to bait out my Electric-type Pokemon if we've got a Morpeko, for example. So I'm actually going to come in with my Mightyena here and save my Pawmot for their final remaining Pokemon, and let's see how this plays out. Unfortunately, I will have to use one shield, which I've already done. I can tank an Aerial Ace, however, so I'm going to no-shield the next one, and I can go for a full farm down and come out with a Crunch loaded. So assuming the Gastrodon comes back in, going to go straight for it. Maybe I can live a Mud Slap here, but we throw straight away, and actually we don't live the Mud Slap, so definitely good that we did just throw immediately. They're going to fall off the charge move. This is absolutely fine with me. The opponent fires off a Body Slam, and their final Pokemon going to be a Lantern. So the opponent, of course, just probably not expecting a Grass-type Pokemon, and as a result, we are going to have a field day with the Chestnut here, as we can go for back-to-back Frenzy Plants, grabbing both shields from the opponent. We have a Pawmot in the back, but we're actually not even going to need to use it here, as they go for another Surf here. I'm now going to look to overfarm just slightly, fire off the Frenzy Plant on the CMP tire with that next Surf. Frenzy Plant will now be enough damage to take out the Lantern, and I can just fully fast move farm down the Gastrodon, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle, another Shadow Empoleon in the lead. So once again, a bit awkward for me. This time I'm safe swapping into my Tiana. Last time I safe swapped into my Pawmot, and we're met with a Shadow Primate. But this time they're not on the Legacy Cross Shop, so they go for Rage Fist, but that is resisted damage. So I can actually grab a shield advantage in this matchup. And now we can come back in with the Chestnut. I'm hoping with the defense drop, once again, we can actually go for a full farm down, and they'll only reach one charge move. So here, I'm definitely going to shield respect it, and they full send the close combat. We get the full farm down. They come back in with Empoleon, and I'm just going straight for the Superpower. Superpower, gotta be no-shielded. They come in with a Shadow Annihilate, which has been really tricky for me, but we can now go for Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is going to be shielded, and of course, all shields are down. We can go straight for a Wild Charge with the Pawmot, and this is a very attack-weighted Pokemon. It easily gets the one-shot, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You can see Chestnut into Mantine. So I'm going to stay in initially just to make sure they're not on like Bubble or Bullet Seed, for example. Nope, they're on Wing Attack though, so we are going to swap into Pawmot, and unfortunately met with a Gastrodon so far. Not really ideal for me, but we can reach a Brick Break and a Wild Charge. Last time this barely didn't KO, and again, unfortunately, it's the same result. So potentially, if we go up against any Gastrodon that have really bad IVs, potentially we could flip that matchup in the Zero Shield scenario if they try and commit to a full farm down. Now, Chestnut does have access to Thunder Punch, so I did consider staying in and trying to farm to it, but actually, it doesn't matter. They just fully RPS'd me. Nothing I could do, so I do just concede the match. But into the final battle, and we're going to see a Mana Buzz in the lead. So, of course, I say swap into Pawmot, and the opponent is actually going to stay in this matchup and fire off a charge move. They go for an Aerial Ace, but they then come in and they snipe with a Charm Meowscarada, and here I had back-to-back Brick Breaks, but I panicked. I overfarmed there. I didn't think it was going to be a charm user, and so as a result, we only get off one charge move, but they do no shield, and we can fully farm them down. Now, we do definitely still have some play here, as I'm going to go for a superpower, dealing decent damage, and now I swap into Mighty Enna. The opponent's going to bank some energy, but their final Pokemon is going to be Shadow Wall Rain, and Mighty Enna is going to feast in this final battle. We go for the Poison Fang. They, of course, are going to have to shield that up, but now they're debuffed. I can just safely shield up the Icicle Spear, commit to a full Thunder Fang farm down, coming out with decent energy, and so the opponent just concedes the match. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.